I've just done so much work on my website over the 12 years and really making it what it is today that I think when I look at other people's websites, I can see problems that are basically stopping them from getting the clients that they want.
Hey everybody, this is Eddie Babbage, founder, CEO of Timeline Genius, your host here of the Wedding Industry Insider Podcast, back with another great episode. I'm here with Lisa DiBenedetto. She is the owner and lead planner of Nightingale Events, which is a quiet luxury wedding planning company that services New England and the East Coast. Lisa has 22 years of experience in the hospitality industry. She's owned her own business for 12 years now, and she provides coaching and mentorship for other business owners who are looking to reach the next level of their growth. Lisa, thank you so much for being here today. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of let people know where we are going with this interview, in the pre interview, what I discovered is that you've done something that's very cool, unique, and I think that others will find it interesting and inspiring. And that is, you started your company, as you say, you started from nothing, and
Yep.
you've built it now over the last 12 years
Mhm.
into, I know we use this word with like a little reservation, but into a luxury brand that's a regional brand, not just
Mhm.
a local concept. And I think that's something that other, hardworking, aspiring planners may be thinking about doing. So we're going to get into the X's and O's of how you did that, how you grew your brand in the way that you did. But
Sure.
before we do that and get into that, I would love for you, Lisa, just to tell our audience a little bit more about yourself and how you got to where you currently are in the industry.
Sure. So I'm Lisa DiBenedetto, owner of Nightingale Events. I started the company in 2012, and before that, I worked in the hospitality industry. Started in restaurants, and then went into hotels, and then really got into larger brands that I worked for before really realizing what I loved to do, which was weddings. So when I kind of met my husband and started things falling in place, wedding planning just seemed like the perfect job. And so I started doing it and building it on the side while working full time till I was at a point that I felt comfortable switching fully over full time to the business. And so we've been in business for 12 years now and service the East Coast, which is really exciting.
I love that, Lisa. Thank you. And, very helpful for anybody that maybe doesn't know you, just to kind of get that quick overview out of who you are and where you came from. So,
Yeah.
something you said to me in the pre-interview reminds me of like I'm an old school hip hop fan. It's like that song "Juicy" by Notorious B.I.G., where he's like, "It was all a dream,"
Yeah,
like you.
totally was.
You said you started from nothing. Like, tell us a little bit more about what the state of affairs were for you when you started your company. Just, yeah, the very beginning. Take me back to the
Yeah,
beginning and tell me how that was.
sure. I mean, I was living in an apartment with my now husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, and a good friend of mine was like, "You could be charging for this." I was planning people's parties for fun, just telling them about different vendors they could work with. I had friends in the industry, and I decided to start the company. I, at the time, really had no money to my name. I was working a job that I did love, but it wasn't the love of my life. And when I say I come from nothing, I really probably had like maybe $2,000 in the bank, maybe. I really didn't have a lot, and I wasn't really sure what to do, but I knew I wanted to start a company, and I knew I loved people, and I knew I loved love. So I just went and opened my business with the town and started doing a ton of research about how you start a company and asking a lot of questions and just trying to formulate services and understandings of what people are looking for. um, and it's obviously changed a lot and lot and lot over 12 years, but I just really tried to do a lot of homework to understand the industry I was coming into. And then once I started working with clients, understanding what their real needs were so that I could reestablish packages that made sense for them and their needs versus what I thought people needed.
Were you scared at the outset, Lisa?
Totally. There's a lot of fake it till you make it. And to this day, there's certain circumstances that I get into that it's a first for me. And I think it's really just being able to stay calm and cool and just look at everything before making that jump. Um, really helps now more than ever after, we've seen it all in 12 years. We've seen a lot of things. And so everything has helped us grow and shape who we are.
I love that. And just to kind of jump, we'll obviously get into the journey and
Sure.
everything in between, but just to kind of jump from the starting point, which you
Mm-hmm.
just kind of gave us some color on that, to where you are today. Can you just
Sure.
describe a little bit more kind of where you are today, the types of events you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
the team and the kind of range geographically of, markets and areas where you're operating. Tell me a little bit more about where you are today.
Yeah. So 12 years later, I do six-figure weddings. Very frequently, that's what I work with. My clients are typically spending between $100 to $500,000 on their wedding. We have clients that bring us all over the place, from Fire Island, New York, to New Jersey, to Newport, to Nantucket. And we have grown from myself and my sister helping me out to a team of four leads, and we have several ladies that work under each of us for each event. So it's truly grown from a one-person show to a crew.
I'll tell you, Lisa, I've ever since I was a little boy, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And people that listen to the podcast, I've probably told the anecdote. I still remember my first business was going into my parents' refrigerator and pulling out like that old American cheese, slicing it in four
Mhm.
slices, putting it on crackers, putting it in the microwave, and they could come downstairs and buy their own food back from me at my restaurant. like,
I
and
love it.
always selling Jolly Ranchers, blow pops,
Yep.
other kids selling them with me. Like I've always just been an entrepreneur, and there's
Yeah.
just something so beautiful to me about what you just described and about what I see, because that's the connection for me. I've never been a wedding planner.
Mhm.
We serve wedding planners. I have such a place in my heart and soul for wedding planners, but I've never actually done, that job. I feel
Mhm.
like I probably could, given all the but but the connection is like the entrepreneurship is just like we're all like to have that energy to go and do your own thing and to take
Mhm.
that leap of faith and to have the fears and then to see the vision that was just in your mind eventually turn into something that is real in the world. It's just such a profound and beautiful thing, you
It
know?
isn't. I don't think enough people take the time to think about it, even myself. I remember 5 years ago just sitting here and being like, oh, the pandemic happened, and where am I going next, and how am I going to do it?
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think the entrepreneur brain, I've always had it as well. I used to design tablescapes for my parents to eat dinner at, and then I would have lemonade stands and
Yeah.
raise money for even
Yeah.
going to grab something at the store that I wanted. So I can totally feel that. It's that's one thing I wish people realize is be really proud of every step you make in this industry, because it's a
Amen.
stride no matter what, and it's a lot bigger than you think it is.
That's so true, Lisa. I feel like it's just it's so easy because it's our nature
Mhm.
as entrepreneurs and human beings to be thinking about the next thing, to be thinking about the growth, and to not necessarily realize that where you are today is what you were dreaming about and working toward, however many years ago.
Yeah.
And, sometimes it doesn't happen as fast as we would want and it takes longer, more work, whatever. But what a nice message you're giving to just say, like, just stop and just appreciate here and now, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we both know that being an entrepreneur, there are really, really tough days. There's really, really great days. There's really, really bad days. And I think one thing that I'm trying to do, especially this year, is just like take a deep breath and remember like everything that I've done and how far I've come. And it's really okay if like today I don't, build a mansion or something. It's like give yourself a break and know that it will still be here tomorrow.
So, Lisa, I love these points, by the way. Before we get into the X's and O's, which is kind of
Mhm.
the nitty gritty, nuts and bolts of this interview, um, just to ask the sort of personal question, like,
Sure.
as you kind of look at where you are now and you look back, at the past and the work you've put in, like the unbelievable amount of work that it takes to go from what you described, that like
Sure.
apartment room, with your boyfriend to where you are now. Um, how do you feel? Do you feel like, and again, just kind of going personal here, was it worth it? Do you feel like, the payoff? And the reason why I'm asking, Lisa, is because before we kind of get into the how, I
Hmm.
kind of want to paint the picture for people like of the why. Like, is it
Hmm.
worth kind of the investment of time to kind of get where you are? Like, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think it's completely worth it. I really can't imagine still sitting at that desk that I sat at, many years ago, selling. I worked in real estate. I used to run apartment communities. And while I loved it and I was really good at it because I'm really good at relationships, I always felt like something was missing. So to wake up in the morning and know that I'm going to my desk to help my clients to further like what my brain has in store for me, if that makes sense, is it's really exciting. And I have a hard time myself reminding myself of how far I've come, but it's a self-made is something that I'm so proud of because I am the first in my family to start a business. I now have multiple businesses. I don't just do wedding planning. I have a bridal suite. I've done lots of different things, and um, it's kind of crazy to like see it all come together. But I'm really happy that I made the jump and decided to do it.
I love that, Lisa. So to kind of get into, so we've kind of talked about, I think anybody just kind of hearing your story, it's is going to be, inspired, especially if they have their own ambitions to maybe grow their brand and their reach in the way that you have.
Totally.
And in addition to kind of stoking the flames of that, that inspiration, I also want to kind of give them some how to. And to do that, we'll kind of go back through the steps that you've taken in your own progression, but also I want to just kind of highlight a few things that you called out in our pre interview.
Mm-hmm.
And the few that I have written down, and we may get into more, are first of all, we talked about the importance of relationships. We talked about the importance of your team.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about the importance of branding, especially like social media presence and website. So
Yes.
let's kind of go back through your trajectory here.
Okay.
And let's start off just talking about the importance of relationships. Like, how have relationships played like a crucial role in the building of your company?
Yeah. Um, Relationships are everything. When I launched my company, I put it on my Facebook, and my friend had said, "Put it on your Facebook. It's the only way that you can't change your mind because you've put it out
Mm,
there."
mm.
And the first 5 weddings that I got were all my friends and family. So they were people who knew me and knew the type of person I was and took a chance on me. So to tell you relationships are important in general is huge. When I was a personal shopper a long time ago at Nordstrom, I had one person that always shopped with me. She would come in and shop with me. She was also one of my first clients that when I started my business, I did her wedding. So, just being able to bring people from one opportunity to the next with you has made such a difference. And that's by, curating the relationship and really being around people that you want to be around and having relationships with them that are not just about business, but they're about life and finding things that are you have in common and can grow on and create that friendship and grow that friendship through the years and go through different levels together.
What would you say to people, Lisa, that, I'm just kind of channeling my inner sort of audience member here. Like
Yeah.
I can kind of, I can see there's somebody listening right now that's like, wait a minute, yeah, this is cool. I've been doing this for a while. I've got good momentum in this city, but wow, I like this concept that Lisa's talking about kind of swimming upstream in terms of like the budget. Not that there's anything wrong with serving any segment of
No,
the market
not at
at
all.
all, but somebody listening, I'm sure, is like, hey, I'd like to be doing six-figure weddings, and hey, I'd
Mhm.
like to not just be relegated to doing weddings in this particular local market.
Sure.
But, and I hear what Lisa's saying about how relationships are important. Like, obviously, we all know that. But, like, at the end of the day, I don't quite know how to operationalize that.
Hmm.
What would you say to that person? Like, how can they really lean into this notion of relationships, which for you has been such an impactful thing?
Sure. There's a few different things that first come to mind. I would say Instagram's a really great one where you are able to search for different areas. So, for instance, say you want to start doing weddings in Charleston, searching Charleston wedding vendors, following them, seeing what they really have to offer, talking to them, commenting on their posts, getting to know them, seeing who you kind of click with and don't click with, reaching out to venues down there, learning about the venues, doing a trip down there, creating relationships with people that you've been talking to on social, meet up with a photographer, meet up with other planners. We have planner friends all over the place. So we are always trying to meet other planners because if I can't do a wedding in Charleston, but I know someone who can, I'm going to send them that way. So I think social media is a big one. And then really just doing your research. What venues are important to you, for instance, as a planner that you want to work at or a photographer? Personally, I love to work at estates. I love to create something from nothing. I love to make a wedding venue from a grass field. So I'm going to look for estates in that area and reach out and get the information, start creating the relationship with them. And the other great thing is like, you might reach out to them and you don't have a client now for them, but you could start talking about that venue on your social and why you want to work there and what you love about it. And that's immediately going to start bringing people to your page that are from that area by using keywords and also hashtags, tagging the venue, keeping that relationship going after you've left. So you visited Charleston, you love these venues, send a thank you note. Keep in touch, see how their bookings are going. Let them know if they have clients that are willing to work with you, that maybe you'll give them a little bit of a discount because you'd like to go there. That helps build the relationship as well.
Really, really interesting. For you, Lisa, was it something that you kind of just said? Did you approach it like in a very structured, intentional way and say, okay, X amount of time this week, I want to make sure I'm carving this out. This is the way some people do for like, okay, sales or
Mhm.
accounting. I'm going to spend an hour a week, like doing my budget. Like, do you kind of carve out like a fixed amount of time, or is it just something for you that's very natural and organic? Like, how does that
It's,
work?
it's pretty natural and organic. I won't lie to you. I just love relationships in general. So
Yeah.
but I do carve out time every day to be on social, to interact with other companies that are in New England, in New York, and in places that I want to be, sharing their posts, liking, commenting on them. Um, that is something that every business owner can do and it's free. So
Yeah.
if you want free marketing, you want people to know who you are, get on your social, get on your stories, and start putting yourself out there. Because the more you put yourself out there, and not even showing your face, but putting who you are out on your social is going to bring you your people. And I can tell you that a lot of the people that work for me found me on social. So that's one thing. If you're being yourself on your social media, it's going to bring people who are your people in.
I think one of the things for me and maybe for others that can be tricky about social media is like, and with relationship building in general,
Sure.
it's not the kind of thing where like you just know the output is coming from the input. In other words, I mean, this is a
Mhm.
very random example. Like I went for a jog this morning. Like I know that if I go run X number of times, X number of miles a week, like that's going to build my endurance in a very almost linear, predictable way. I'm just going to get
Sure.
more and more fit as I do it. Whereas somewhere in the back of our brains, I feel like you can be like, I can just go on social and who knows what, if anything, ever really comes of that. But it
Yeah.
sounds like for you, you say just flat out like social media, if approached correctly and earnestly and consistently, really can be a game changer for your business. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. I would say that most of my leads are social media based. So most of my clients find me on Instagram or a referral. So word of mouth from a friend, a family member, or their vendors.
Did you just have a knack for social media? Was it kind of just an extension of your natural sort of inclination to network with people, like, or did you have to kind of get smart on how to do some social media the right way to make it effective for you?
Yeah, so I needed to learn about it. When I started my business, I was lucky enough to meet somebody early on that worked on my website and also did things with social media. So taking her classes, listening to what she had to say, and really taking that advice and utilizing it. And it's crazy. I tell people all the time, I can go on right now and post a wedding from anywhere. And I'm not trying to sound like woo, but if I go on and say, hey, this is a wedding from Newport, Rhode Island, I will tell you that within the week or two, I will have an inquiry for someone who wants to get married in Newport, Rhode Island, because I'm doing the right things. I'm showcasing the venues I want to work at. I'm showcasing that in my hashtags, what I'm saying, and the people that I'm tagging that are part of the events that I do. With us sharing out what we have to offer as a group, or if you need a photographer but you don't need a planner, there's all these opportunities because we're all working together to like advertise out what we do.
Really, really interesting. And what would you say to somebody, just Lisa, if they're like, I'm not smart on social media. I'm not as naturally just inclined to use it or adept at using it. But I hear what Lisa's saying, and it really does resonate with me. Wow, it's this hugely powerful tool
Yeah,
that's essentially free, other than, the time that I'm going to have to spend to, get out there and use it. What would you
yep.
say to that person to kind of help them maybe do what you did, which is to use social media effectively?
Yeah, I think it's really coming up with a good game plan. I know a lot of people don't like to show their face on social. So I think I tell my mentees, sit down and write 6 posts. 6 posts trying to target someone you're trying to work with, a place you're trying to work at, or just in general, your type of client. Start there. And if you're not really sure, then create a client avatar as a starting point. Who are they? Where do they work? What do they do? How old are they?
Yeah.
Those pieces can then help translate into, your post. So if you're not sure what to write, think about your favorite client and write a post to your favorite client. What would your favorite client like to hear, like to know about you, or has told you what they like about you? That will help to come onto Instagram authentically, and you'll start to build authentically off of that. You can also work with someone in social media to take classes and to learn about different hashtags, or talking even with me about what's worked for me offline. There's lots of different things that you can do to make it grow your business.
I love that. Very, very cool. Yeah, my mind is going in a lot of different directions here. This is a little bit of a detour, but
Sure.
again, just kind of getting into the real stuff here.
Mhm.
Most planners I know, especially those that are trying to kind of grow, and you and I talked a little bit about this. I don't know exactly when this interview will air, but you said something that I've heard a lot of planners, because I talk to a lot of planners around the country, just given
Sure.
what I do with Tom Genius, and they're like, yeah, things are kind of slow right now. There's this fear factor that I think, if we're honest, can set in, where even if things are good one year, you're kind of like, I don't know that next year it's going to be the same, because it's just inherently a little less predictable than if I just had like a McDonald's or something. I'm like, I know the traffic here every day. This is how it works. Like,
Yeah.
you don't really control when somebody's going to see your social media, post that connects and make the inquiry and the sparks fly. Like, how do you kind of deal with, that, or do you even have that fear? Is that something that, because I feel like we're talking about how to get these clients relationships and
Sure.
so, but having like, even doing all that, do you find that sometimes you're like a little afraid that, like, is the business going to come? Like, do you have that fear? And if so, how do you
Yeah.
deal
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you never know what is going to happen. And I think the pandemic was like a perfect example of that. To even give you a little background. So I left my full time position on December 31st, 2019.
with it? Whoa.
Yeah. So I went full time with my business on January 1st, 2020. Uh, had no idea what was coming between some health things and then the pandemic itself. I had to think back to like, how am I going to make this work? What am I going to do? And I'm a person that always says, like, you have to eat first. So you like, what are you going to do to feed yourself? So even during the pandemic, like, I started marrying couples. I started doing intimate weddings. I started just thinking of anything that would bring money in for my team so that my team could also be able to make money. So when these situations come up, I'm always thinking about what are other ways that I can make money to make sure that I'm taken care of. And so I'll start to create a list or think of things that I can do that I'm good at that can bring in income. And I think this year, especially, it's been a really hard year for everyone. Every single planner I've talked to around the country, like you
I've
mentioned,
heard that a
we're
lot.
all in the same boat.
Yeah.
It's just a weird time, and so you either have to trust the process and know that it's going to come back, or you need to think about what else can I be doing to offset this till it does come back.
So is that your sort of strategy, is to just start thinking about like, what can I do now
Yeah,
to kind of address this?
yeah. I
And
mean,
yeah,
I'm always coming from nothing, coming from I didn't have money growing up. You
yeah.
have to be scrappy. You have to think about how you can make that money. And I've never lost that. So, that's one thing for me that during the pandemic, I mean, it was like, okay, what can I do to make money? This is going to make me this much. I need to be able to pay my bills. So I've never lost that. That's something that I think when you come from nothing, you're always thinking about how you can stay afloat, how you can make it happen. And so that's one thing that I, to this day, am always trying to think of what else can I do?
I love that. Um, yeah, a little bit of a psychological detour there, because I think that so much of, at least at this point in my career, I feel like so much is mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. I was listening to this Bob Proctor talk. He's passed on, rest in peace, Bob. But he's just kind of like a, business and motivational sort of speaker. And he was just talking about how, we have these things that we're aspiring to. And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, those things have a frequency. It's a little metaphysical, a little woo woo, but there's something about it that I'm like, that makes sense. Like there's a sort of energy that goes along with, having a business that's where you are,
Mm-hmm.
and there's one that goes along with scarcity. And it's just kind of like managing that mindset sometimes when a
Yeah.
pandemic hits, or when you look up and you're like, wait a minute, I'm a little light on bookings right now. Like, I'm very interested, just as a student of entrepreneurship, in
Sure.
that inner sort of battle,
Yeah.
the
It's hard.
it is. It can be. It really can be. And I think everybody in business knows, can attest to that. So another pillar for you, we talked about relationships, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
Another pillar for you, obviously, was growing your team. There's no way you could be doing what you're doing if it was still just you and, say, your sister helping out on the side.
Sure.
Tell me about the team that you have now, and then tell me about the importance of having the right team.
Sure. So I have contractors who work for me, so they're not employees, but I have contractors who work under Nightingale, and they do their own weddings. Each of them has come to me in different ways, which is really exciting. One of the girls that worked for me, she started working in a different part of the industry, and we were always friendly. And then when she saw that I had some positions opening, she came over, and she's been with me now 4 years. Um, and she's a lead planner. So she does her own weddings under my company. And then I have other associates who assist her in weddings. But when we have large logistical weddings, that person, as well as other people in my company, will offset with me where I'm going, what I'm doing, so that we can make sure that our clients are well taken care of. So we'll take all the lead planners to work one very large industry wedding, for instance. But they each have a really important role. My assistant keeps me on task and kind of knows what I need before I need it, which I think is really important as you're growing, to look at you and kind of like know what you need without even saying it. So I think that has been very helpful. The other girls on my team, I would say the great thing about all of us is we all have a very can do attitude. We all know that like things can get hard, but we can't harp on it. We need to just flow and grow. And so that's what we do. We just stay to the positive and what we can get done for our clients and for each other. And there's many times over the last year where I've had to look to my team and say, hey, I need you guys to take over. I'm having some health things going on. So I need you to run the company and do it for me. And they're able to just jump in and know what the company needs and run with it.
That's really cool, Lisa. And I think, it's another entrepreneurship, I think, is so tricky, because there are these things that have to be weighed very carefully. Like, on the one
Mm-hmm.
hand, I think we all know that if you want to grow, you're going to be the biggest bottleneck on your business. And you need to have people around you to expand the scale of what your business can do.
Sure.
But we also have a fear of like, okay, well, if I delegate this, is this person going to do it as well? And I feel like a lot of times, like, we'll hear from books or mentors or whatever, oh, you got to let go of that. You've got to trust, you got to find the right people. But like in reality, some of us have probably been burned by that, right? Where you hand
Yeah.
something off and you're like, it didn't get done right and blah, blah, blah. And now it's a bigger mess than if I had just done it myself. How do
Mhm.
you kind of balance that sort of inner concern of like, when to delegate? Can I trust this person? Finding the people who kind of earn that trust from you. Like, how do you manage all of that?
That's a tough one. I would say especially in the last few years, I've had people work for me that have taken advantage, and that's been something that's very tough. So um, I'm going to say, to start, I think it's really important that you have a contract that protects you, protects your company, and
Hmm.
protects all the things that you do for your company. And then I think it's really looking for people that you find comfort with and that have the same attitude as you, and having the same willingness to work. I think everybody in my company has like a different personality, which is really cool. And they have their benefits, their strengths, their weaknesses. So being able to pick up on someone's strengths and what they're really good at and putting them in a position to succeed, and other things that they might not be as good at, trying to work on those to build them. But if it's just not something they're strong on, leaning on to another team member who's strong in that area. And so I have certain things that I delegate to certain team members all the time, just based on their skill sets. So understanding skill sets is important.
As a wedding planner, you know how important it is to create detailed wedding day timelines for your events. But creating your timelines can be a tedious and time-consuming job. Until now. Because Timeline Genius lets you create beautiful, detailed wedding day timelines with ease. And it keeps everything you need on the wedding day in one central place. Here's how it works. First, Timeline Genius saves all your clients, vendors, and venues in your Rolodex, so you don't lose time looking for their information. And when you're ready to create a new timeline, you simply enter the key information for your wedding. Click a button, and voila! Timeline Genius magically gives you a customized timeline for your event, where all the details are laid out and the times are calculated for you. From there, you can easily edit your timeline by adding or deleting items, inserting images, changing font styles, and customizing everything to your liking. You can also instantly shift the times for as many items as you want. And when it comes to your clients and vendors, Timeline Genius lets you give them the highest level of service. You can send them tailored timelines, showing only the items they're involved in. And you can collaborate by inviting them to a mobile-friendly, web-based version of the timeline. You can even set text message reminders to automatically go out on the wedding day. And once you've completed your perfect timeline, you can download it or email it out as a beautifully styled PDF. And that's Timeline Genius, a smart software that will help take your wedding planning to the next level. Start your free trial today.
Yeah, that really resonates with me. The other thing, as we talk about the pros of building a team, which they're very apparent, and there's, again, I'm sure there's no way you could have gotten where you are today if it were just you.
No.
That's not a thing. But on the flip side, there are these challenges that go along with building a team, such as what we just talked about. Another challenge, if we're in the world of real talk here, is, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I feel like is the financial weight that
Mhm.
comes along with having a team and having people whose livelihoods you're to a large degree responsible for.
Yeah.
Lying in bed when that pandemic hits, if you've got people on your team, you're like, wow, like I'm responsible for these people. I care about these people. They're helping me and I need to. Can you talk a little bit about the weight of that responsibility and how you manage it?
I don't manage it well at many times
Tough.
because I love my team so much that, like, literally sometimes it keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
Just especially during the pandemic, of how are these people going to eat? How are they going to pay their bills? And so, I am always trying to think of different ideas that we can do at the company if there are slower months to bring them income in.
Yeah.
One was having them all become officiants, either with the town or through online circumstances. And then just being able to create different promotions and specials to offset, to bring in more more business. And we're even doing it now with our wedding management. We've lowered our pricing a little bit to hopefully bring in some more clientele for this year. Because again, it is a slow year. So just trying to be scrappy at all times to figure out how you can bring in additional money for them, and even asking them, what do you need? Tell me what you need to be able to pay your bills, and tell me about some of the things that you're really good at that maybe I don't know about, that we could maybe use your strengths for, to bring in more additional income for you.
I love that. So exploring ways to kind of expand the role and add on things that will, in that scrappy fashion, bring in some more revenue. And what would
Yeah.
you say, Lisa, if I were to just say, let's take a step back and talk about like growing your team. You've got a team in place that it feels like to me, you're like, yes, like obviously there are challenges, but at the
Hmm.
end of the day, I'm very grateful and happy that I have the team I have. We're
Yeah.
clicking, we're humming. How'd you do it? Like, what's the sort of, because it's easy to kind of step in some bear traps, I feel like, along the road of trying to build a team. If you had to just kind of high level say, these were the keys that allowed me to get the team that I needed to get where I am. What would you say there?
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one. Okay. I would say, first and foremost, when you're interviewing, don't just make it about the job at hand, because you can train anyone to do the job that you need. So I really think it's about personality first and foremost. Really understanding someone's personality and the things that they like to do and they don't like to do, for me, was big. Because I know that I can train someone how to do the things I want, but if their personality sucks and they're just like super negative, we're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
And then I would really say is cultivating the relationships. So I do calls with my girls, at least if I can't do weekly, monthly, we do outings where we all get together and get lunch or dinner on me. And I think that those are important things for team building, so that they can trust each other, not just trust me. So I'm always trying to think of ways to bring the team closer. And at this point, all of the girls that work for me, who are my lead ladies, are all new moms. So we'll get together with the babies at a coffee shop and, just talk through what's going on in your personal life, what's going on in your business life. So I think it's really cultivating those relationships, also giving people the room to breathe and let them try something is important too. So don't just, think they can't do it or go to do it yourself. Ask them to do it. I've had girls that have worked for me. I've asked them to write an SOP. Tell me how you do your job. I want you to write it out. Show me how you do your job. And then I'm going to look at it and tell you if that's everything that I expect too, or if there are things that are missing. So filling in those gaps, giving them the opportunity to show you they can shine too, is huge.
It's funny, Lisa, as you were talking, I realized there's this big through line or sort of overarching thing. When I was thinking about the structure of the interview at first, it was like, okay, building relationships, growing a team, social media. I'm like, wait, all of this is relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Like what you're talking about, like nurturing these relationships, like, and it makes sense, right? Like we live in a world of people, like anything you
Yeah.
want to accomplish, like every dollar that you get is coming from a person who's giving that money to your company. And
Yes.
everything you accomplish, like it's going to be working with and through and in harmony, hopefully with other people. But it's just kind of interesting to see that through line here.
Yeah, definitely. It's I think if you want a strong team, you have to be there for your team and you have to be in the trenches with them, and you have to let them know that you failed before too. Cause I think that's the biggest thing. Like my girls will say, you're intimidating. I'm like, why? It's just me. Like, I'm right here. Tell me what you need. Like, how can I help you? And I think people always just think that you're higher up than you actually are. So if you're just a down to earth person and you're like there for them, and, you know, you just talk to them like a person and figure out what they're good at and how they can help you and how you can help them, it's going to be great.
What's it mean to you to be a good leader, Lisa? And I know we all, it's something, that it's funny. I was talking to a coach, and there's a question that I ask myself. I used to do it more frequently. I should get back to it. It's what is the one skill that if I honed it would have the biggest impact on my career, right? And at one
Mm.
point it was like teaching myself how to code. At another point it was like getting smarter on marketing. I remember I was talking to this person. He was like, given where you are, He's like, hands down, period. It's leadership. Like you need that. That's like A, it's a skill that can be cultivated. And B, once you have a team, that's the thing, because you're not doing the majority of the things that are getting done in your company, because you're by definition
Mhm.
one person and your team is many.
Yeah.
Um, in your eyes, what does good leadership equate to?
Oof, you are getting me really good today, I have to say.
Nah, cha-ching.
Cha-ching. I just think being a good leader is being a good listener and a good understander and understanding person who knows that not everyone's a robot, and that, we're all real people and we all have good days and bad days. So I think it's really just celebrating people on the good days, but being there for them on those days where it's like not so good. And knowing that, like, if there's something small that you can do to try to help them to feel better that day, or like better their business, that you're there to help them do that.
That's really cool. I feel like in my eyes, like I remember reading a book, Team of Rivals, about Abraham Lincoln. And it
Hmm.
was all about how like he assembled his cabinet, and it was a really like motley, unwieldy crew, because some of these people really wanted to be president, right?
Sure.
Like, and they were kind of like coming in like Seward and Salmon P. Chase. They're like, we know more about this than you do. Like, he had all of these egos, and he had this just like beautiful, skillful way of just being like, first of all, I don't care about the praise and props. I don't need to be the man here. Like, I can just sink back, and like all I care about is getting things done. Somewhere in my brain, that's sort of the model. I'm like, I don't like, just kind of, I'm willing to kind of be back, and I just want to put the team out there and like, let's just get this
Hmm.
done, and put the best
Yeah.
foot forward that we can for the market. Is that your kind of thing as well, or is that might just be more of a kind of me thing? I know we're all different on this
No,
individually.
I think that's a really good point, though. I mean, like, when people say this, like, oh my God, you've done so much, it's like, okay, well, I've only gotten as far as I have because of the people that I have around me.
Right.
If I didn't have a strong team that I trusted, like, none of this would be
Yeah.
doable.
Yeah.
And at times you do have to step back and let someone fly or fall. And you have to
Yeah.
be able to see what they can do. And you have to be willing to then, if they do fail, step in and fix it.
Yeah.
But people aren't always going to be perfect. And, you as a boss, you have to be able to listen to them and hear what they have to say and make decisions, and not just fire them or not just like reprimand them, but listen to why or what happened.
Yeah.
And I think my last manager before I left my job, I worked with her for 12 years. She just was so good at like listening to everyone and understanding what they were going through and understanding what their skill sets were. Um, she was a great person to see leadership from.
Yeah.
She got the team excited about things, but you knew when she was serious. She was there
Yeah.
to support you if you didn't know how to write the email that way that you needed to write the email.
Yeah.
And if someone from corporate called and was like, what the hell did Lisa do? She was like, hold on. You don't know the whole story. Like, Lisa was doing da 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 da. So I think you just have to be diehard for your team, but also understanding that they can F up too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I kind of went down that path because I feel like in practice, it's a little different than the mental model that gets conjured up when we think about great leaders. You almost kind of think about this notion of like the like really headstrong, out in front. This is this is what we're doing, blah blah blah. And it's like sometimes it's not really, the real deal leadership seems to not necessarily be that. A lot more
Yeah.
just kind of helping others, focused on others. Yeah, well, I think that's a really important point. I couldn't resist kind of going down that. So we've talked about here, building relationships. Also, just to jump back to the relationship point real quick, though, again,
Mm-hmm.
all of this has really been about relationships so far. If there were one category of people or professionals that you feel like is the most important, like is it venues or photographers or your clients, like which group of people has been the most impactful in terms of the relationships you've built for building your business?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, of course, my clients have been really impactful of what I've been
Right.
able to do. I would say that for sure. But I would also say that there's been like some really amazing women entrepreneurs that I've really clicked with. And I think we've brought each other up. So we've grown together to do what we want to do. So we play off of each other. Just for instance, if one of us wants to work in a different state, we all are like, all right, let's all go do it. Let's all go do a style shoot together in that state. Let's all do it together. So I think having that has been really big for me, because as small business owners, sometimes we don't have a team right away. So other business owners have been really amazing to watch and grow with in this industry. So between clients and I would say just other strong entrepreneurs, we've just figured it out.
Awesome. Very makes good sense. I'm gonna just take a pause, as I mentioned in our pre-interview. I want to tell folks about Timeline Genius, and after that, I want to come back to what is one of my favorite questions to put to people on these interviews. So, quick little aside for my wedding planners out there: if you're listening, and you know how important it is to create a very detailed timeline for your weddings. I want you to know that Timeline Genius is a phenomenal tool for that. We built it because I just went looking for a need and asked dozens and eventually hundreds of planners what the most tedious part of their job was, and just heard over and over, how important timelines are and how much time it can take, because every wedding is unique, and if you have this generic template, you end up making so many changes to it, and then you're collaborating and getting input from the photographer or from whoever, creating tailored timelines. Like, we've really built a tool that automates all of that, and that gives you a whole new set of things you can do, like setting text reminders and collaborating now in a mobile, real-time friendly way, having an execute view so you can ditch your clipboard if you want to and just send text updates on the day of. So go to timelinegenius.com, start a free trial, watch the video on the homepage, and I think you'll be very, very happy and excited by what you see. That's my quick aside for that, Lisa. The question that I kind of teased just a minute ago is the one that I put to you in our pre-interview, where I said, Lisa, if I came to you and I said, I've been doing wedding planning now for, several years, and if I'm honest, Lisa, I'm not making the money I want to make personally, and I'm working a little harder than I expected to. And honestly, I almost kind of feel like the passion that got me into this is kind of being dimmed a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that you said you would, if you had an hour to sit down and help me over lunch, one of the things that you said you would really dig into would be my website.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to have you unpack that a little bit. Tell me why that came to mind as like a critical sort of point for you to dive in on to help somebody in the situation I just described.
Yeah. I've just done so much work on my website over the 12 years and really making it what it is today, that I think when I look at other people's websites, I can see problems that are basically stopping them from getting the clients that they want.
Mm.
So, being able to go onto your page and look at it, I'm able to assess what someone who knows nothing about your business is seeing first. But I'm also a person that has a lot of knowledge of what our clients are looking for. So I'm able to look at it from that way and say, okay, the text is too bold. Like, you need to like bring it down. Like, it's too large or it's too in your face. You need something that's a little bit softer. The colors that you have going, they're just not going with luxury like you're saying that you're looking for it to be.
How do you know those things, Lisa? How do you know when the font's wrong? How do you know when the colors are off?
Just it's been years of experience, like
Right.
just really working through it and seeing what works. I change my website like every month. I'm always tweaking something on my site because I'm always seeing that there's something that someone might be looking for. So if it's adding a gallery, changing how I say things on the site, showcasing my team in a different light, playing with what pricing we have. Because I will tell you, you should always have starting pricing on your website. I will be the number one person that will tell you that over and over, because don't waste people's time. If you're a certain price range, tell them that, so they either know that they can afford you or they should keep it moving. So when you're on your website, and you say have a price tag that's higher, you need to showcase that. So you should be showcasing your best work on your site. And if you're not showcasing your best work, or you're not sure what your best work is, that's when you should be working with a mentor or someone to go through your work with you, help you pick out the best pictures, hire a copywriter, someone who can really, pick your brain and pull out all those great things that you do to make it your own. Um, your website is the first place besides social that people are seeing you. If your site is messy or doesn't provide information, or they don't know who they're working with, they don't know what you stand for, why are they going to hire you?
Yeah. Yeah, it really is weird, as you're talking, Lisa. I mean, some of this stuff is, I think, intuitive, but sometimes it's the intuitive things that we still kind of miss or neglect.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like, I mean, that website, consciously and subconsciously in your potential client's mind, is having a huge impact. I mean, that is what they're seeing of you. I mean, set aside like your social media presence. It's
Sure.
almost like take every dang penny you have and invest it in making, like, like when I look at your website, like it immediately evokes this sense of like, oh, she's legit. Like this is a higher end, like it's just, there's a certain feeling that I get just from being
Sure.
there.
Yeah.
Um,
It's refined. And I
yeah,
talk about legacy, and that the importance to me is legacy. Family at the end of the day is everything to me. So the clients that work with me, they're family oriented, and they want to have a really bomb party, but they
yeah.
also want it to be really special. So I talk about what's important to me. So I'm attracting those type of people who find importance in family, find importance of like pulling out those pieces. I wear my engagement ring. Both of my wedding bands are my grandmother's diamonds. I talk about my grandmother on my website, what an important piece she was to me. It's really showcasing yourself and the things that are important to you, so that you're attracting those type of people to work with.
That's such an important concept, and it took me years to really kind of internalize this notion
Mm-hmm.
that like you really need to know who your ideal client is. Like who are you? And I just heard you kind of very loosely kind of start to describe yours, like who that
Sure.
person is. Like you can see them at a certain point.
Yeah.
It's not any one particular person. It's like a composite of other people that you've maybe worked with, but like this is the person that I want to attract because they're going to love working with me. And you put your authentic self out there, I guess, to attract them. But how, Lisa, how do you know um, what to do, like what to say and what colors? Like, are you actually circling back up with past clients and saying, hey, I'm thinking of tweaking my website, what do you think about this? Or is it just purely based on your own gut instinct? Like, how do you know what modifications to make?
Yeah. So I have a bunch of really strong, amazing entrepreneurs that we all kind of help each other and talk through things. And I think, because of that strong circle, we'll actually get together every few months at my studio in Connecticut. And we'll sit down and just talk about like what's working, what's not working, and take ideas from each other. So we're not all wedding planners. It's a stationary person, a person who does gifting, a website person, a photographer. We all kind of look at things from a different view. So I can look at my photographer friend's website and tell her what someone's looking for. And she
Yeah.
can look at mine and be like, yeah, well, your pictures are really pretty, but it's not saying X, Y, and Z. So we kind of do it as a group to a point where I'll ask them questions and vice versa. And we'll try to figure out what's working and what's not. But I would just say in general, I always feel like cooler tone colors and softer colors calm people. And my job is all about calming you and making sure that you feel very relaxed during your planning process.
Yeah.
But you also love the details. So I want you to see the detail on my website, but know that this isn't going to be this crazy, stressful experience with me. We're going to be friends.
There's a book I guess I'll just throw out here on the sort of topic of website. Have you ever heard of Donald Miller, Building a Story Brand?
No, I'll have to read
Yeah,
it.
I'll just kind of throw that out for folks. We can put it in the let me see, make sure I've got that. Yeah, Building a Story Brand. It's a really good book in case people, because I realize, it's tough on these interviews. Like each one of these things that we're talking about could be its own separate, point. But for anybody that wants a little help with that,
Mhm.
I feel like that's a good resource to kind of throw out. There are a couple of questions that I still definitely want to throw out here for you,
Yeah,
Lisa. One is, I know that you provide coaching and mentor services.
mhm,
Can you just kind of talk a little bit about that, just in case somebody listening, again, on that note that there's only so deep that we can go in a podcast
sure.
interview. For anybody that might want to work with you in a coaching capacity, like, can you talk a little bit more about those services?
Yeah. Since I've been in business as long as I have a lot of great connections, and I've been able to establish myself in this industry, and I feel like anybody can get where I am. It's just all about putting the work in, but sometimes you just don't know what work needs to be done. So a lot of the times that I work with businesses that are looking to up level their business, they're looking to get into that quiet luxury market, and they're not really sure how to do it. So we're able to work together on an hourly basis. I don't like to do packages per se, because I want you to come to me when you need to use me, and then I want you to go fly and do your thing. But I'm always here if you need something. So I have mentees that work with me on social media, their website, talking to clients, sales pitching, um, just overall who you're trying to project yourself to, and also a lot has to do with client avatars. A lot of businesses don't know who their
Yeah.
person is, so we
Mm,
talk about how to figure that out, like who is your client and why are they your client, and then let's
mm.
build your social and everything you're putting out around those people and what they are looking for.
I love that. That is so powerful, Lisa. So powerful. Um, and I will ask for contact info in a minute here in case
Okay.
people want to get in touch. But before I do that, one other question that I ask of everybody that I have the privilege of having on our podcast is, if you could give one piece of advice based on all of your experience professionally, personally, that would be as helpful as possible to people as they build their wedding planning business, what would that one piece of advice be?
I'm really bad at the one piece of advice thing. It's like
You
my
can give
hardest
two. I
thing.
won't get mad at you, Lisa.
um I just think this is going to sound silly, but just be kind and always think about how you can help another person,
Hmm.
because I just have realized in this industry, like if I couldn't help other people, I would not be where I am now, because you need help to get to places you want to be, and you need to help others when they need the help too. So I think that's a really big piece, is always looking to help others, and that will come back to you.
What a beautiful thing. So I that really, really resonates with me, Lisa. I tell people often that one of the most powerful lessons that I've learned building three companies, that's been seared into the depths of my soul, is that it's really just about helping other people.
Yeah.
And it may sound trite or hackneyed or whatever, but the reality for me is, I'm like, that's kind of the secret. Like, and I feel like there's this higher, cosmic, spiritual, whatever thing that we're tying into when we do that, which is like, that's why we're here. Like, we're
Yeah.
here to use our time, talents, and energy to serve. And when you can
Mhm.
really focus on that, a lot of this other stuff that we've talked about, like the fears about, like, where the people, like, there's need, there's so much need in the world. And if you put yourself aside and just focus on serving that, like, that's, I also just coincidentally, purely coincidental, I was listening to this Oprah thing this morning, and she said something that's just so powerful and profound. She's like, it's law that what you, in that Oprah voice, she's like, it is law that what you put out, like, is coming back. Like, so if you're putting out that servant heart and that energy, just like you said, it's going to come back to you.
100%. I mean, there's so many times that I'm having a rough day, or scarcity mode comes in, which does happen. And, I'll go do something and I'm like, it's going to come back to me. I know it's going to come back to me, you
Yeah.
know, and I say that out loud, and I truly believe it. I feel like everything that I've done, all the things that I've done for others and tried to help with, like it definitely is coming back to me.
Yeah, I almost feel like it like comes back immediately. It's almost not even like this karmic boomerang, the way that like if I give $5 to somebody who's struggling, at some point I'm gonna walk across a $5 bill. I think there's
Yeah.
almost this thing that like in the very moment where you genuinely like focus on serving, there's something internally that's happening that's like equally beneficial for you. Like you're just like tapping into your own sort of abundance and all of that. But well, what a beautiful place to leave it, Lisa. If people do want to get in touch with you, what is
Sure.
the best way for them to reach out, to connect?
Yeah. So for coaching and mentoring, I have actually a new website that's launching very shortly, but my email address is lisa@lisad.co because the last name's just too long. So we're making it real easy for you. The site should be out in the coming months, and that'll be www.lisad.co. And basically, you can reach out to me. We can talk about where you're at, maybe how we can work together, what's going to be best. And if I'm not the best fit for you, I'll introduce you to someone that could be a good fit for you.
Lisa, what a treat having you on. You have such like an approachable, earnest, transparent, sort of and positive demeanor. I just, on behalf of our whole podcast listening audience and our Timeline Genius community, I just want to say thank you for taking time to share your wisdom here. We really,
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It was so much fun.
Absolutely.